Hey guys, we are in the basement, and today, yes, today, guys, we're going to the garage, yeah? Because we are gonna do part number 2, that's right, part number 2 of the Atari Quantum Restoration. And yeah, I think like part number 1 was like a year ago. I don't even remember what part number 1 was. Well, what was it? Actually, I think the very first part in the Quantum Restore was when we got that Black Widow cabinet, okay? And we went and visited my friend Brian, that's right, and we picked up a Black Widow cabinet and we brought it back here. And that thing has been sitting in my garage since I think last fall or something, I don't even remember. But since then, I've gotten another cabinet because Ian Kellogg from IanKellogg.com actually delivered an authentic, yes, a real Quantum cabinet, and in this video we're going to start restoring this cabinet, and this project has kind of changed a little bit because before I was going to convert a Black Widow into a Quantum, and now we have the legit Quantum cabinet, and we're going to be converting that, or actually restoring that back to its former glory. And right now the thing is all painted black, which is horrible. So this video, a majority, actually all of the video, is going to be us basically stripping the cabinet, getting rid of all the parts. Right now there's a double dragon board. Ooh, there's a double dragon board that I think we should probably test at the end of this video. I got to bring that in here. And then also there's a 4900 monitor in there. We're going to pull all that stuff out, get the JAMA harness out of there, and strip the cabinet because we got to get all that black paint off because we do have brand new artwork for this. And I'm really excited about this because Quantum is just an amazing Atari vector game. You know, came out in '82. They only made like, I think they made 500 of them. It's super rare. And it was designed by GCC too, who also did Food Fight. They did Miss Pac-Man. Yeah, they did the modification for Pac-Man that turned into Miss Pac-Man. So the guys that made this, the company was really cool. They actually did Super Missile Attack too, which is also a mod for Missile Command. Just a neat company, and they also did a lot of Atari 800, I think, or 7800 or 5200 games and stuff. They ported a lot of arcade games to the Atari home consoles. So anyway, enough of that. Let's go to the garage, guys. We got to get to work on that Quantum, and I'm kind of excited about this, and I'm hoping that this video series goes kind of quick because really we got to get that cabinet looking sharp and then just put all of our parts in it because I have every single part for Quantum. So really exciting. All right, guys, let's go to the garage. All right, guys, we are back in the garage. And yes, there are a lot of projects out here. So anyway, in this video, guys, we are gonna start our Quantum restoration. That's right. Is this part number 2? I'm not really sure because we did another Quantum video. I don't even remember what we did in it. But anyway, in this video, we're going to really start doing some work on the Quantum. It is time, guys. And this cabinet right here, yes, this is an original Quantum cabinet, okay? Quantum was a game, by the way, that was released in 1982 by Atari. It is a vector game. It's a really neat game, and of course we'll get to the gameplay much later when we get to that part of the video when we're much further along and the game is working. But anyway, this game was developed by General Computer Corporation for Atari, and again, it's a vector game. They only made 500 of these games. That's it, 500. This game did not do very well in the arcades. I also read like on Claw that a bunch of them were returned from operators because the game was just such a dud. But flash forward now to 2015, it is a really sought after, rare game. It is kind of one of the Atari grails, okay? This is an arcade grail right here. And the fact that we have an original cabinet is just mind-blowing. And there's a bit of a story behind this because on the John's Arcade forums, Ian Kellogg posted a link to a Craigslist listing that was in down in Pennsylvania, like in Pittsburgh. And he's like, oh, look at this listing. It's a Kroll and like a Space Duel. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, dude, that is a Quantum cabinet. So Ian called the guy, made a deal, picked up the cabinet for me. He drove it out here. I mean, what an awesome dude. Definitely go to Ian's website at IanKellogg.com. He sells a lot of cap kits and stuff that I've covered in the videos. But anyway, he brought it here, and I cannot believe that we have a real Quantum cabinet, because now this is a true restore series. We're actually restoring a Quantum. Not this cabinet over here, because this is the cabinet I was gonna use. This was a Black Widow, okay? And the profile of the cabinet is pretty much the same as Quantum. However, all of this stuff in here is not the same. The control panel is different, the glass is shorter, the wood that's in here is all different. So we were gonna have to modify this cabinet to make it work as a Quantum. And also, this monitor in here is mounted horizontally, whereas Quantum was originally mounted vertically. So the fact that we have an original cabinet is really going to save us a lot of time and headaches. And also, this cabinet in general is in better shape and more solid than that Black Widow, because this Black Widow, the cabinet was swelling on the sides here, which was really bothering me. And there's just no way to fix this. Because if you look here, the cabinet is about, a 1/16 of an inch or more fatter than the T-molding, because it has taken water at some point and swelled up. And so I've been down on this cabinet, and also I wasn't looking forward to doing all these wood modifications. I did get all the wood to replace here from a DPT Wiz on Clove, but now we're not gonna have to do that because we have the legit cabinet. And you could just see how different it is in here, how the control panel comes to here. This piece of glass is longer. I mean, heck, the glass, I was gonna have to get a piece of this tinted glass made up for that cabinet over there, and this piece of glass alone would have cost me $100. So what we invested in this cabinet was actually well worth it. It's going to save us a lot of time, and we get a lot of parts and pieces that we were just missing with that Black Widow. So as you can tell, at some point in its life, this game was converted to a Double Dragon, okay, which is kind of funny, right? So it has a Double Dragon marquee, and if you look here, there's actually something else underneath it. I don't know if that's a Kung Fu, looks like wire Kung Fu or something, but there's another marquee underneath the Double Dragon marquee. So what I want to do, and the first thing that we're going to do in this video is we're going to start stripping this cabinet. I want to get every single part off of this thing, because we need to remove all the black and see what's going on underneath it. I'm hoping that, now I don't really know what the plan is here, because I have reproduction artwork for this whole cabinet, okay? And the plan has always been to use that artwork. However, I am curious to see how much of the original artwork that we can save that's underneath this black paint. And we're going to get some Citristrip. Now, I suspect, though, that we're not going to keep the original artwork, because we're going to have to do a bunch of Bondo work on the bottom and just square up the edges. And when we do that, we're going to destroy whatever original artwork is there. But I'm just curious to see what this cabinet looks like if we can get the original paint off. I don't know if this is latex or oil. I have no idea. If this is oil, it's not going to be easy to get off, and it's going to start taking the artwork off. But we're going to get some Citristrip, and we're going to attempt to strip it down. But I guess before we do that, let's just take a quick tour of what's going on here. So here's the original Quantum control panel. You can see the circle here. That's where the trackball used to be, okay? Because Quantum is a trackball game. And so someone here drilled holes for these joysticks and these buttons to turn this thing into a Double Dragon. And I don't know if this is generic artwork. I don't recognize this control panel. Again, the marquee is Double Dragon with something else underneath it here. And then if we go around the back here, you guys can see what's going on. It is a mess, okay? Well, the one positive thing that's going on here is that we have an original 4900 monitor, okay, which is a nice Wells Gardner monitor. It's probably my favorite monitor. So as a bonus, with this cabinet, we're getting a nice Wells Gardner monitor that we can put on the shelf and save for a future project. Down here, which is another nice little bonus, we get a Double Dragon PCB. So that is a JAMA PCB. Maybe later in the video, we'll test this in our JAMA cabinet down here. I have no idea if this is working or not, but we're not going to really touch it, okay? On the bottom here, we have the original transformer, which we need, which is great. Right now, it kind of unbolted itself from the floor. That's okay. We'll reattach it later. Someone did install an isolation transformer right here. That is not original, okay? So the operator probably couldn't figure out how to tap into the transformer down there to add this new raster monitor for Double Dragon. So they just added a new isolation transformer. So we're gonna get rid of this. Now, if you look in here, a lot of the original Quantum harnesses here, okay? And also clues as to just how it was all set up as far as monitors go, because this originally had an Amplifone vector monitor, and you could see right here on the sides, this is like for the high voltage unit and the deflection board, because the Amplifone monitors weren't like in a big frame like this. They were like, it was like in pieces. Like you had the tube in the middle, and then like the deflection PCB was on the wall, and then like the high voltage was over here, and then the gain PCB was down here. So all of that original Amplifone stuff is in here, which is great. It's just nice. I mean, we're not gonna put an Amplifone monitor in here because I don't have one. We're gonna use the 6100. But if I ever did get an Amplifone down the road, I'm all set up here for the boards. I have all the original mounting wood and all that, so that's kind of cool. I've been looking for a serial number on this, and I haven't been able to find one yet. Now, this is a bummer here. It looks like someone ripped the back door off. And we'll address this and fix all this, probably with some Bondo. We'll probably remove all these decals and get new ones. But again, I've been looking all around, just trying to find a serial number, and I can't find one. Maybe we'll find it once we get in here, get deeper into the game. But I guess right now, let's just start taking this thing apart. It is kind of fun to get this little bonus stuff. You know, we get a 4900 monitor, which is a great monitor to have. And then we also get this Double Dragon PCB, which is fun. I had a Double Dragon PCB. I sold it a long time ago. So let's get this PCB out of here. And then maybe in the later in the video, we'll go downstairs and see if it works. Be kind of fun if it did, right? This cabinet was $25, by the way. So for 25 bucks, I got a 4900 monitor, a Double Dragon PCB, and an original Quantum cabinet, one of 500 ever made in the world. I think that was a pretty good deal. Now, it didn't cost me 25 total. I gave Ian some cash for driving it down here. And then also there was that Kroll cabinet. I got that for him. We paid for that. We got both games for 100 bucks. And so he kept the Kroll, and then I got this cabinet, and then he drove it to my house here. And then I also gave him the Sprint 2 as a thank you, because he really did do me a real solid here. All right, so here's the Double Dragon PCB, Taito. Looks all original, looks pretty clean actually. So we'll test this later. So for now, let's just put it to the side. I do need to get the monitor out of here. Now again, let's keep in mind, this used to be a vertical game. And by the way, yes, the wood down here is all broken. I'm not too worried about that. We're gonna make that solid again. This piece is just staples to here. And so not a big deal. We'll clean it up. This is the original power switch, and we'll remount all that stuff, but it's okay. We'll just staple this back here and make the cabinet real solid again. That's not a big deal, honestly. Let's go in the front here, though. I do want to... Let's just see what's... Actually, you know, these joysticks are kind of interesting, too. I don't know what kind these are, but I really like how they look and feel. They're kind of cool joysticks. And I don't know if that came with the Double Dragon kit or something. I don't know. These are cool joysticks, though. They feel pretty good. All right, so let's see what's going on with the monitor and how they mounted it, because originally this was a vertical game, and so they put a monitor in here horizontally. All right, let's see how we get this glass out of here. Let me get a screwdriver. So we have to see if we can lift this up and just kind of do this. I gotta be careful with this glass, because again, this glass would be very expensive to replace. And I'm super stoked that I have the original glass here. Okay, so here's what they did. So we've got this plastic shroud here, which is not original. Okay, that is, looks like it's from a Midway cabinet. This looks like the plastic that you see on like Pac-Mans and stuff. So not sure what's up with that. But we're just gonna get all these parts off. We're actually gaining a whole bunch of parts here. This will be something that might come in handy later. So let's remove this. I noticed that on the 4900 monitor, it had a Williams tag on it. So that monitor came from some kind of Williams game. Who knows? Moon Patrol, Robotron, Joust. One of those. Okay, so we've got these right here. These are also Midway parts, okay? So it's funny. It's kind of a mishmash of stuff here. Now you can see they cut the wood, okay? Because originally the monitor was mounted vertically in here, and it would have gone, you know, the flat part of the frame would have gone here, and it would have been mounted vertically this way. Right now it's landscape, so the operator cut a hole here in the original wood so it would accommodate this monitor. Now I have a reproduction piece of plywood here that we might use, or we might just keep the original in there and just reuse it. I haven't decided yet. So all right, let's figure out how we get this out of here. It looks like we've got 4 carriage bolts here that are screwed from the other side, and so we've got 2. So I'm going to go ahead and get my my socket set, and let's just remove these 4 carriage bolts, and then we should be able to just pull the monitor right out. All right, I got most of the nuts off here, and it actually has been a real pain in the butt, and I've had to use some brute force to get these off. I got one left. I'm basically just taking my drill and I'm just drilling these out because they are just stubborn and they're spinning and everything, and I just cannot get them off. So I'm just gonna drill them out. This is the last one. So I'm going to keep drilling this out. Oh, man. All right, I need a bigger bit, but those things were really in there. So let me get a bigger bit, and I'm going to drill that out, and then we'll yank the monitor here. Let's try this with a bigger bit. There we go. All right. I mean, that's one way of doing it. Okay, so the monitor should be free here. Let's go on this side and just make sure everything's disconnected. So that's the power. Here's the video plug. Let's undo that. And I want to be careful when I pull this out because I want to keep this monitor. This is a great monitor. And they have a little zip strip here on the ground wire. They zip stripped the video cable to the ground wire, so let's just get rid of that. Okay, so the monitor should be mostly free. There's another zip strip over here. Okay, so we can pull the monitor out, I believe, safely now. So let's go ahead and do that. And of course, you know, this is not a conventional monitor install job here. They retrofitted this guy in here. All right, let's pull it out. Okay, so there we go. We got that out. And now we've got ourselves a spare 4900. That's great. Okay, so you can see where they cut. So they added this in here because originally the monitor was mounted vertically here and here and here and here. And we might end up replacing this wood. I haven't decided yet, but I do have another piece of wood here, brand new. So this looks okay. Everything's just really filthy. Let's pull that marquee bracket off. I think there's a standard screw in there holding that on. Where is my chair? Just curious to see what's up there. So let me get up here and let's see what's underneath the marquee bracket. Be nice if there was a quantum marquee underneath here. Doubtful though. So they've got some unoriginal screws here holding this on. Okay. Let's see if we can get this thing out of here. I might have to take these bottom ones off. Yeah, let me get some bits here and we'll undo these. And then we could pull the marquee off. Okay, it has like some security bits here. I'm just using this guy. And let's take these off. And we want to save all these screws. We'll throw these in the tumbler. I might end up stealing screws I'm missing from that Black Widow. My buddy Jay's actually going to take that Black Widow, but we'll see what happens. Because if I need parts from it, I'm going to take them. All right, so let's take a look at this marquee here. So it's got Double Dragon on it. And then we got this piece of metal here. You can see that. So what is underneath here? Just curious what... Oh, it's some kind of generic karate thing. You see that? It's pretty wild. Looks like that generic... I bet you this game was converted twice. I'm just going to leave the Double Dragon on here, but you could see that it had like a generic kicker or something. I bet you this was like YR Kung Fu or kicker, because this artwork that's underneath here kind of matches the weird control panel graphics. So I think this was a set. Probably some kind of bootleg. But we'll put this on the shelf with our other marquees from converted games. These are all the games we've deconverted. So we got Double Dragon now, Sidearms, and Taito US Classic Golf. Okay, so let's see what else we want to do here. We should remove the control panel, because really right now I'm just really interested in getting every part off this cabinet. Because we're going to strip this whole thing down, and we're not going to use this control panel because this control panel has so many extra holes in it. I think we're going to sell this to Jay, because Jay is also doing a Quantum, and so I think he could use this control panel. I picked up a reproduction that I think we're going to use on this project, so I want to get these nuts off of here. So let's go ahead and grab those, and we'll just rip the control panel off. I'm going to need some deep sockets here. That's pretty big. Let's see. Nope, let me find a deep socket and we'll get that off. Okay, I broke all these nuts with my socket, and I'm just going to get them all off here, and we'll get this control panel out of here. And I probably want to save this hardware. So let's get all these off, and we're going to have to just cut these wires because someone added a JAMA harness in here that we're not keeping and we're not interested in keeping at all. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut all this stuff because we're going to just basically remove all these JAMA wires and just throw them in the garbage. There's really no need to keep this. This thing is so just unbelievably hacked up. So I have a brand new Quantum harness that we're going to be using. It's a reproduction harness, but it's brand new. And I'm not going to really attempt to save the original Quantum harness. I do think that once we get all this out of here, we'll be able to make heads or tails of what's left of the original Quantum harness. Alright, so let's get that. Okay, so that's that. And we'll put these nuts in our pile of nuts, because we're going to tumble all that. Okay, so what's interesting too is you guys can see the original Quantum artwork there. See that? Pretty wild, huh? We're going to attempt to strip this paint here in a second, but you could see the original Quantum art, which is beautiful art. What a shame that they covered it with paint. Ugh. So, all right, let's go in the back here and just kind of take inventory of what we need to do next. I want to start ripping all this wiring out of here. Oh, man, this is a freaking mess. Just look at this. So this right here, I don't know if that's the old monitor power or what. So let's get this out of here. I think, God, this is a mess. We got the original speaker. They put a switching power supply in down here. They added in this switching power supply. So I don't know how much of the original wiring I want to leave in and how much I want to get rid of. So this these little wire ties here, how do I undo those? I'm going to try to leave as much of this as I can, because this is the light fixture. So I do want to leave that there. I don't want to hack this up. This is the power for the monitor, I believe. Oh, they added this. Okay, this goes to their switching power supply. Because that's right, the monitor plug is more like this on these vector monitors. It uses this giant plug right here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rip all this wiring out of here, and I think I'm going to start with the transformer assembly here. Let's just unplug everything, and it's all hacked to pieces. Everything's cut up down here. What a shame. But it's okay. Like I said, I do have a new harness that we're going to utilize. So this is the power in, okay. All right, so let's get the transformer out of here. This is a ground wire right here. Oh boy, what is all this? So, just trying to make heads or tails to what's going on here. So we got all these ground wires going to this. So it looks like I need to unscrew that. All right, I'm going to undo this and take all these ground plugs off. Oh, what a mess. Okay, I have the power supply, the transformer all disconnected down here. And good news, we now know what our serial number is. So this is serial number 359. So this is number 359 Quantum. That's pretty awesome. And it looks like this is pretty much unhacked, which is good. So this should be ready to go, I hope. Okay, so that's out. Now we need to just get rid of all this wiring, and I'm going to try to carefully do this. I'm going to try to preserve as much of the original harness as I can. I don't know how easy that's going to be because it's been hacked and tapped in all over the place. I'm gonna, well, we gotta disconnect that old the power supply they put in there. So let's come in here and just get rid of this Peter Chow. I got another screw back here. Okay, so there's that. I'm just tempted to cut these wires off. Just get all these wires out of here. It's such a shame what these operators did back in the day. I mean, really. I mean, but they had no idea that this game was going to be something that guys like me would want 30 years later. I mean, this was probably like the equivalent of you know, saving a Golden Tee Golf to them back in the day. Okay, so let's, all right, so this here, so let's get rid of, let's see, we want to keep this, okay, so that stuff just goes over there. So that stuff can stay. And then this right here is for this switching power supply they stuck in here. So let's get rid of that. Okay, so that's that. I wonder if that switching power supply is any good. I mean, if that isolation transformer is any good. We could use this for the iRobot. Okay, let's just get rid of this thing. And you can see they tapped into the power going into the transformer. All right, so this here can all stay. We do have some additional wires that were added. And this was all hacked up. So I'm really interested in keeping part of this, because I think that these two wires go to the marquee light. So we definitely want to keep that. But they did cut in a bunch of wires here. I'm not sure what for. And I'm not really sure if the new wiring harness has the marquee lights. I'm not positive at all. But let's get rid of this stuff, because this is stuff that they added. What a mess. So, all right, I'm going to keep going here, and I'm just going to get all these wires out of here and try to preserve and save as much of it as I can, because some of it is original quantum wiring, and I don't want to just get rid of everything automatically, because we might need it. We don't know what we're going to need once we get into this with the reproduction harness. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to carefully just get all these wires out of here and just clean up this mess. Okay, guys, I got all the wiring out, and I saved as much of it as I could. It was basically like a mishmash here of a JAMA harness that was added, all spliced into the original harness. It's a complete mess, absolute mess. The good news is they did not really mess with too much stuff in here. So like this connector right here that goes to the utility panel, okay? Our test switches, our volume, this is all unmolested. So our new harness can just plug right into this. Same thing up here with the coin door. It looks like this is unmolested as well, so we should be able to plug right into this, I believe. The wiring to the speaker was cut. I think that's okay though, because I'm guessing that our new harness has new wiring that goes to that speaker. And then I did leave these wires in right here, because these wires have the AC for the marquee light and then also the speaker wires. So I'm just going to leave these right here for now, and then it goes to this, which I'm not sure if this is original or if this was added. I can't tell. But I'm going to keep it around for now, unless we don't need it later. But we're just going to leave it right in here for now. I'm just going to let it just sit there. But we got everything out, and so the cabinet now is pretty much stripped. So I think what I want to do now, because what we're going to do here, guys, is we need to basically prepare this cabinet. Okay, we got to make this cabinet really nice, okay? We're going to have nice square edges. We're going to Bondo. We're going to sand. We're going to clean. We're going to prep. We're going to do all of that stuff, okay? And the first thing I need to do is get all this black paint off, because I want this to be bare MDF. Because when we put our new artwork on here, I want to put it on the bare MDF, which is what Atari did back in the day. However, I'm going to attempt to save the artwork and just see what's underneath, because if it's usable, we might try. We'll take inventory of the artwork after I strip it. Okay, and I don't know if our stripping is going to be successful, but if it is, it would be kind of cool to see the original artwork, wouldn't it? And so what we're going to do is we're going to use some Citristrip. Let me make some room over here and get all this junk off the ground. But let's put the game on its side, and we're going to try to take some of the black paint off on the side here, and we'll throw some Citristrip on here and see what happens. I should remove the coin door. We'll do that in a bit. All right, so let's put the game on its side. This looks like spray paint here. I don't know. I'm really curious what's going to happen here. This cabinet is pretty solid, I have to say. It's not in bad shape. Okay, so I went to Home Depot and I picked up some Citristrip, which is a pretty mild paint stripper. It's not super aggressive. And what I want to do is put a little bit on here and see how it reacts to this paint. And I don't know if this paint is oil. I don't know if it's latex. I have no idea. If it's latex, this is going to come off super easy. So let's throw a little bit on here and just let it sit. And we'll just do kind of a test area right over here. And I'm just applying it with a paintbrush. And we'll just do a test spot right here. And I'm going to let this sit, I don't know, for about 15 minutes or so. And then we'll come back and see if we can scrape off that paint. So let's let that sit for about 15 minutes, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, it's been about 20 minutes, 25, something around there. So let's see what happens here. Holy cow. All right, this is some exciting stuff here, guys. Look at that. Look at that. All right, that is freaking awesome. I have to say that's super, super awesome. So the original art is all there, and oh man, that kind of really just changes my perception of this project. I don't know. So some of it is a little bit more stubborn, like this black on the white. But boy, that stuff did a great job, and it's really not eating up the original art. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is let's go for it, man. Let's do this again, and let's see if we can. The thing is, I don't know if we can save this artwork because there's so much work I need to do on the edges. I'm really torn here what to do. You know, because it would be super cool to have the original cabinet with the original artwork. This stuff is always a mess, by the way. I hate it. It's just such a messy product. But all right, let's go ahead and just do this. Let's do the whole thing. I'm probably gonna do half at a time. I don't know. It's a good idea to just kind of do small sections and not do the whole thing all at once. But as long as I time this right and don't let it sit too long on here, I think the risk of us ruining the artwork is pretty small, but we just can't let it sit too long. So let's go ahead and just kind of really cover this thing with this stuff. God, this is getting me excited, guys. Seeing that original artwork underneath there is freaking awesome. All right, let's cover this whole thing. We got to come back in here because that really didn't get that black paint very well. So I'm going to cover a good percentage of this cabinet right now. And as long as we don't eat into that vinyl, the original artwork. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just keep covering this thing up with Citristrip, and we're going to let it sit for another 20 minutes or so. And then we'll come back and see if we can get all this paint off. Because that's pretty exciting what happened down there. All right, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to cover the whole thing with Citristrip, and we'll let it sit and come back in about a half hour. But, exciting stuff. Okay, we're back. It's been about 20 minutes, and looks like it's ready for some scraping. And I don't want it to go too long because I feel like that seems a little risky here. I don't want to start lifting up the artwork. So let's just take off the big chunky stuff here, and then we might have to do another application to get some of the stuff that we're not getting all the way, like in here. The black on the white is really stubborn, but man, this is pretty amazing, guys. Look at this. So I think we're gonna have to do another coat because some of it is still stubborn, like in this area. But look at this. That is freaking amazing. Yeah, some of this is really stubborn. So I think I'm going to let this sit a little bit longer on the other end here. I'm wondering if I should... Yeah, let's get the majority of it off, and then we'll just do another coat of it. Because we'll be able to really kind of take inventory of what's going on here. But I gotta tell you, now that I'm seeing the original artwork on here, that sure changes my perception of this game, of this cabinet. Doesn't it? Boy, it'd be a shame. I don't know. I'm really torn right now. let's see what happens once we get all of this paint off, and then we'll just kind of decide what our plan of action is here. But some of this is pretty stubborn. Well, we got most of it off, but there's still a lot that's really stuck on there. I am a little worried that if we go kind of crazy with this stuff, that it's going to start eating up the artwork. And I probably should have let the Citristrip sit on there maybe for a half hour. I'm only doing 15-20 minutes just because I'm trying to be a little cautious. But some of it is really stubborn and not coming off. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to put another coat on here, and we'll let it sit for about 20 minutes, and then we'll see if we can get the rest of this paint off. But the original artwork underneath here looks actually really good. I can tell that if we can just get the paint off, it's actually not bad at all. Holy cow. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. Oh man, I hope I don't run out of this stuff. We're using a lot of Citristrip here. So I'm going to go ahead and just coat this whole thing again. And see if we can get the rest of the black off. So let's go ahead and just coat it one more time. And I'm going to keep my eye on it. Because we don't want it to start eating up our artwork. So, all right, I'm going to coat this whole thing again, and then we'll let it sit for about 20 minutes or so, and we'll come back and see if we can get the rest of the paint off. But this is looking pretty good, guys. All right, I'll be right back. All right, guys, it has been a half hour here. Let's see what happens. Let's see if we can get the rest of this black off. Oh, yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Boy, this is working out freaking awesome. So it's a little stubborn in the white areas, but not too bad. Oh yeah, this is working awesome. And it's not eating the original artwork, which is amazing. Boy, I got lucky here, guys, but I don't know if... Uh-oh, it's starting to eat the vinyl. All right, we got to start getting this stuff off. I think that we're at our limit here. All right, let's get all this off as fast as we can, because down here, it's eating the vinyl. Yeah, it's starting to eat the vinyl. All right, let me get some paper towels and let's get all this off as fast as we can. I don't think we're going to be able to save this. This is so gross. All right, I'm going to go ahead and clean up and get all this off, and then we'll assess the situation. Okay, guys, I got it all cleaned up, and you know, as exciting as this is, that the original art is here, you know, big, massive scratch here, there's just no way we're going to be able to save this. You know, it's lifting up down here. So I think we're going to have to just remove all this vinyl. And really, you know, all these edges are just kind of hosed, the particle board, like in here, and like look down here even, especially down here. I mean, we really have some massive work ahead of us. I don't think we can save this artwork. There's just no way. It's not good enough. And especially because it's all peeling down here. Look at this. So we're going to have to strip all this off. And I know it's a bummer, but there's just no way. And we still have a bunch of black paint on here. But it's just kind of lifting in here. Look at this. So, yeah, there's no saving this, guys. As much as I want to, it's just not going to be a very good game if we leave it as is. What a bummer, because that was kind of hopeful, but you know what, I kind of knew all along that there's no way we were going to be able to keep this. So I think what I'm going to do right now, I'm debating here I'm tempted to get a heat gun and start removing this old stuff, because we're gonna have to remove the T-molding, and there's some water damage down in here. I can feel it, because we're gonna have to sand all this MDF down and then seal it, and I'm gonna have to get all this artwork off of here, all this vinyl, because I want to strip this down to the raw MDF. All right, let me think about what we're gonna do right now, because it is tempting to put more Citristrip on here and just let it sit for an hour, and it'll just eat up all that vinyl completely. That's pretty tempting. I wonder if I should do that, because that'll really make things a lot easier for us if we just let the Citristrip eat this stuff up. But look at this. What should we do? Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. So let's coat this whole thing with Citristrip, and I'm just gonna let it go, and then we'll come back and do the other side. I think the only way to properly restore this game is to just strip this thing down. I know, it's conflicting, isn't it? But this vinyl is just hosed, man. So I think the Citristrip will just eat this vinyl up if we let it sit long enough. So I'm going to cover this whole thing. And just let this stuff work its way through the vinyl. And I bet you it'll just fall right off. And then we'll have a nice raw MDF surface that we can then prep and really do right. So, okay, I'm just going to keep going here and just paint this whole thing up with Citristrip. And then we'll come back in like an hour or so and see what's going on. I know. I wish I could save it too, but we can't. I mean, this was the plan all along anyway, was to remove all this paint and get it to raw MDF and put our new artwork on. And I think we're gonna have a really bitchin' mint cabinet when we're done. Okay, so, all right, we're gonna let this just really an hour, I think at least, because I want this stuff to just absolutely destroy this vinyl. So, all right, guys, we'll be back. Okay, guys, I've had this sitting on here for about an hour, and so it's eating up some of the vinyl, but not all of the vinyl, mostly in the white area. And so the areas where there's tons of ink, it's just not very effective. So I'm gonna go ahead and just wipe this down. I think we're gonna have to take a heat gun and really go crazy on this and just get this off with heat. And I think it's gonna be not fun, to be honest. So I'm gonna clean this up, get all of this stuff off of here, and then we'll come back, and then we're gonna hit it with the heat gun. All right, guys, I'm gonna take my heat gun here and just go to town on here. And believe me, if you guys think for a second that it doesn't sicken me that we have to do this to this original artwork, you're crazy. This is making me die inside, seeing us removing this original artwork. Oh my God, I mean, come on. I mean, whenever we do this stuff, guys, you know I want to keep the original stuff, but we just weren't able to save it. And really, we have so much woodworking to do on the bottom. We would have trashed it anyway with Bondo and sanding. So I'm just going to come through here with some heat, and this is going to take forever. And I'm just going to try to scrape all of this artwork off little by little, and it's going to probably take me an hour to do this. And the thing is, we have 2 more sides to do after this. But this is working. So I'm just gonna keep going, and we're just gonna get all of this artwork off of here. Poor Quantum. It's okay, this is only temporary. We're gonna bring it back to its original state. It has to get worse before it can get better. So I'm gonna keep going. and then we'll assess the situation. All right, I'm gonna try something. We're gonna try a belt sander and see what this does. This might be crazy, but maybe I'm trying to accelerate the process here. Okay, we're getting somewhere. So I threw some of this on here. This is making a graffiti remover and stripper for paint and labels. We'll see what happens. I don't know, man. The belt sander actually did okay. It got a lot of it off, and just a lot of work. And so I'm gonna see now if we can kind of accelerate the process with this chemical. I'm not sure if this is gonna really work. I've only had it on here for about a minute. I'm hoping it just turns this stuff into gum. So I'm gonna let this sit on here for a few minutes and then we'll see what happens. But I really hope it breaks down these labels. I'm really, this is a mess. The good news is the wood underneath, not bad. You know, I think the wood's okay. This cabinet's gonna be great once we get done with it. But we can't do anything till we get all of the sides stripped. So I'm gonna let this stripper soak on here and hopefully this will take this stuff off. I don't want it to really soak into this MDF or particle board. So I don't want it to stay on here too long, but it's starting to break the labels up a little bit. So I'm gonna let this sit for a few minutes and we'll be back. All right, guys. This absolutely sucks. I'm not kidding, it sucks. So I let that stripper stay on there for about as long as I felt comfortable having it on, and it didn't really do too much, to be honest. So right now, I'm kind of going through and I'm heating and scraping, and I don't have a whole lot left, but this is just a lot of work. I might rethink the other two sides because we're only 1/3 of the way done here. And I might go to the store and get some seriously strong stripper for the other sides because I really want the stripper to take everything off, the paint and the vinyl all in one swoop. And if you guys remember that can stripper we used, remember that stuff? We used it on control panels. That stuff was incredible. But, because this is just too much work, man. The belt sander did actually a pretty good job. But, it'd only take me so far, though. I had all these little remnants left over. And right now, I'm just kind of going through it and just getting off every little piece I can. But, this is not fun, man. Oh my God, this is not fun. This is torture. But man, this is like really the worst part of everything. I mean, once we get this stuff off, we're kind of home free. The rest is gonna be gravy. I mean, putting the new artwork on is gonna be fun. It's gonna be stressful, but it's gonna be exciting. So we just gotta get through this. Get this thing to bare wood all the way across. So I'm gonna keep going here with the heat and the scraper. And hopefully be back soon. Okay, guys. We're done. Just a lot of work. A lot of elbow grease and combination of stripper, scraper, heat, and a belt sander. And so let's take a look here. Oh man. We're gonna have to really clean up in the garage here, but so we've got 1/3 of the cabinet done now. And boy, that was a lot of work. So here's what we're gonna do. It is almost 7 o'clock on Sunday, so we're gonna stop right here. And I'm going to get some more stripper, maybe some heavier duty stripper, and we're gonna strip the other sides. Now, I might do some of this off camera. I haven't quite decided, but, and then we're gonna have to clear coat this stuff because we removed a lot of the clear coat when we sanded. That's just no big deal because I was already planning on clear coating it. But this looks pretty good. And we'll come back here and sand it again and really get that smooth and consistent. But man, that was a mess. That was a lot of work, guys. It wasn't fun at all. So this cabinet is actually going to be great. I could tell already. It's a good solid cabinet. So once we really square off those edges and stuff, really great candidate for a quantum restore here. So all right, so we're gonna go back into the basement. We'll come back, we'll revisit this very, very soon. So why don't we go down and do some viewer mail. But guys, we're getting somewhere. We are getting somewhere. And then when we come back to the garage to work on the project, I'm not sure. I might have the whole cabinet stripped by then. I have to come up with a plan, actually. I really don't want to go through what I just went through again. So I'm going to try to look for something a little more aggressive that will dissolve the vinyl and the paint all in one shot, because that was just an insane amount of work. And it was not fun at all. So, all right, guys, let's go back down to the basement. All right, guys, there you have it. That was part number 2 of the Atari Quantum Restore. And, well, we kind of got somewhere, I think. I mean, we actually did a lot of work. It took forever just to get that one side of side art off. And, yes, I know, it made me sick, too, having to destroy that original side art that was underneath that paint. But it was, you know, it was kind of trashed. It really was. It was trashed underneath. And the Citristrip, which was doing a pretty good job getting rid of that black paint, it did start eating some of that vinyl on the bottom, especially in the white areas. It's weird because where the ink was, you know, like in the blue and all that part, the Citristrip didn't really affect. But in the white, where it was just the raw material, it really did affect the side art. So I'm sorry we couldn't save that. But you know, my plan all along was to put the new side art and kick plate art on there, which I already have, and hopefully after we get the cabinet all squared away, we could do that. So I did want to test that double dragon PCB. I'm curious if that thing works, because that was the PCB that was in that game, and it's kind of a nice little bonus. So I opened up my JAMA cabinet here, and I thought we'd just plug it in and see what happens. I'm just going to kind of do it like this and just hold it without screwing up my Street Fighter setup. And let's come in here and just turn it on. All right, so it's booting to Tetris right now. Let's turn this off. And let's see what's on the screen. So let's go ahead and switch boards and see if we've got Double Dragon, and we do. Sweet! I got me a Double Dragon board. Nice, and the sound works too. Cool. I used to have a double Dragon PCB. If you guys remember too, I actually did a video, a complete playthrough. Well, that's hot that this board works. Gotta like that. That's a nice little bonus. You gotta like it when I actually kind of like buying those converted cabinets, because you end up with a bunch of stuff. You know, like I got a monitor out of it. I got a Double Dragon PCB. I mean, that's $100 right there. So, sweet. The thing about Double Dragon, though, is that I don't want to really play it that much, because it's like once you finish that game, where's the motivation to keep playing it over and over again? So I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Probably use it for trade bait or something. It's pretty awesome. So let's turn this back on and put our Street Fighter and Tetris back on here. I'm looking right now for a Turbo Super Street Fighter board. I really want to put that in here, because hyper fighting is great and I like it a lot, but I kind of want that CPS2 Super Turbo Street Fighter. That board is so expensive though. It's like $350. So I'm looking for a cheap one. Hey, I'll trade you my Dragon's Lair for my Double Dragon for it. All right, so what do you guys want to do? I want to do some viewer mail. Actually, I want to share something with you that happened today because it was kind of funny. Because do you guys remember Game Room magazine? Now, I used to subscribe to this a long time ago, and there was a guy named like Kevin Steele that put this magazine out, and I was a subscriber, and I enjoyed it. It was a nice little read, you know, came once a month. And so someone just relaunched the magazine, and this showed up at my house because I think I had a few issues left on my subscription when they went under, and then the new owners kind of looked at all the subscribers, and they're going to fulfill all the episodes all the issues that you missed because they went out of business. But I was going through this, and it was kind of funny. I was just reading the magazine. I had no idea that I was in this. So right here, the 10 best, let's see, I'm trying to read it backwards on the screen. 10 of the best game room resources on the internet, and the number one is the Papa Pinball tutorials, which are actually really good at papa.org/videos. And then at number 2, John's Arcade. Look at that. How cool is that? So they got the top 10 best game room resources on the internet, and number 2, according to Game Room magazine. Actually, Preston Burt wrote this. Preston is from Game Room Junkies, really nice guy. So they made me number 2 here, and then going on, number 3 is Golden Age Arcade History, All In for a Quarter. That is a great website, by the way. allinforaquarter.blogspot.com. Game Room Junkies podcast, of course. Pinball Ninja, that's Clay Harrell's, that's his website now. He was the one that was doing the This Old Pinball videos, which are fantastic. And he's got Pinball Ninja, and then Digital Press Library, Boston Pinball, and Exidy's Arcade Price Guide's on here too. Oh, I didn't even notice that. I should tell John. Number 7, number 8, Communities, Pinside, and Clove. Number 9, Arcade Heroes website, and then of course number 10, the Internet Arcade Archive.org, which I go to all the time for manuals and stuff. So anyway, pretty cool. This is a pretty good read. I love magazines, so to get a magazine for something I really care about is nice because this magazine went away and now it's back. So it's Game Room magazine. Just Google it. You can subscribe. Definitely worth getting. So thanks, guys, for putting me in there this month. Okay, so let's do some viewer mail. If you guys want to participate in the viewer mail, you can send them to me at blkdog7@gmail.com, blkdog7@gmail.com. In the subject line, please put viewer mail. The first one here is from Mr. Green, and he says, "Hi, how hot does your basement get with all the games on?" Have you ever had heat issues with any of your games? Okay, so it does get hot down here. I have air conditioning. I have central air, which does keep the basement nice and cool, but these games really warm up the basement. They raise the temperature down here, and when it's like 90 degrees outside, the air conditioning cannot overcome what's going on down here with all these games, so it does get hot. Now, I've never had any heat issues with the games as a result, but it does get a little uncomfortable in here because when these games are on for 1, 2, 3 hours, the temperature starts going up, 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 up. And in the middle of winter, it could be -20 outside, right? I could have my heat off. I turn the games on down here, and when I come down, this is the warmest spot in the entire house. It's really great in the winter down here. So yes, it does get warm down here from the games, and I'm sweating right now. And no, luckily, and fortunately, I have not had heat issues, okay? This one's from Joe. It says, "John, did you have a Commodore 64 at any point? It was a great gaming computer back in the day. My favorite game was Maniac Mansion. They even had a terrible Double Dragon port for which I own and struggled to play. Signed, Joe." Well, Joe, no, I did not have a Commodore 64. I'm going to tell you why. Because I was an Atari 800 XL elitist. Okay, this is my computer from my childhood, and I've actually done videos on the Atari 800. I need to do more because this was a passion of mine. I mean, this thing owned my life. Like, in between the Atari 2600 and the NES, this is all I used. And I had a Where's BBS, and I was a big pirate. You know, I was a 12-year-old pirate. And I've done videos on the 800XL. We actually logged into a BBS using my 300 baud modem. I showed you guys some of my Ataski art. So I want to revisit this because I still have my computer, my television, and all the discs from my childhood. But to answer your question, I was never a Commodore guy, and really back in the day, this was a true rivalry. Okay, it was Mac versus PC, guys, and it was Atari versus Commodore, and you were either one or the other. And if you were one, you did not like the other. And I hated the Commodores, the commies as we called them. I was an Atari snob, guys. The 800XL was my life, and I'm so glad I still have my computer from my childhood because I did so much with this thing. And honestly, my mom, you know, and dad bought me that, and that really set me on the right path. You know, my mind works a certain way, I think, because of that computer. So no, I was not a Commodore guy. I hated Commodore. I'm an Atari guy. All right, this one's from Steven. And he says, hey, John, I was wondering if you could tell me, other than being original, is there any big difference between the Nintendo buttons and the reproduction buttons sold on Mike's Arcade? And are there any good reproduction joysticks for the Nintendo that you can recommend? Also, good call on the Rust-Oleum Universal Satin Paint and Primer Black Paint. Best spray paint ever. Sincerely, Steven. I agree, man. That Rust-Oleum Universal Satin Black spray paint is amazing. That is the best spray paint I've ever used, and I won't use anything but. Okay, so you want to know about the Nintendo buttons, okay? I do have some opinions about this, all right? Because the original Nintendo buttons have a very certain feel to them, okay? Now, on the Red 10 here, I have original Nintendo buttons, okay? Now, these aren't exactly the same as Donkey Kong, but they're pretty close, okay? They're a little bit longer, but the lip radius and the button... Actually, this one's broken. I'll just show you. I've been meaning to replace that green one. The lip radius is really sharp, okay? And it does have a different feel. The Nintendo buttons are decent, okay? Are they critical? Well, the one thing about them is the colors, okay? Because the original blue and the original orange is very different than what Mike's Arcade has. However, I do think the Mike's Arcade buttons are just fine because I actually have those on my game, okay? I have them right here. These are both Mike's Arcade buttons. Those buttons have been on my game. Really, these buttons have been on here since I've gotten both of these. Do I think they're bad? I don't. I'm so used to them. They're just really your standard, typical arcade buttons. They have a softer edge. They don't sit quite as high. I do like the original Nintendo buttons. I have a bag of them, and I probably could replace all of these with the originals. But when I was fixing these up, I went and got brand new buttons from Mike's Arcade, and I've never looked back, to be honest. And over here, these are also the Mike's Arcade buttons. I think they're just fine. I do. I don't think they feel exactly the same as the original Nintendo buttons because they had a sharper lip. And the plastic just has a different feel to them. So if you have the original buttons, then keep them. But if you don't have any buttons to choose from, I would get these. And you know, people have been trying to make reproduction Nintendo buttons. These really are just standard buttons that have been modified to fit the holes on these control panels. And no one has really yet made an exact one-to-one replica of the original Nintendo buttons. And if someone does, I will definitely put them in my game. But really, for now, these are just fine. And as far as reproduction joysticks, now, Mike's Arcade used to sell them. And I actually have one on my Donkey Kong over here. This is a Mike's Arcade reproduction joystick. Did he sell out of these joysticks and never stock them ever again? I think that's what happened. Because his reproduction Nintendo joysticks were fantastic. I love that joystick. However, you know, the Nintendo joysticks are all metal. There's nothing to them. You should be able to find a used one on eBay and just kind of rebuild it yourself. Really, is nothing more than cleaning it. So if you have an original joystick now, I don't recommend replacing it because all you gotta do is just clean up the metal and it's like new again. Because there's really no plastic parts inside the joystick that can wear out. So the Nintendo joysticks, take them apart, clean them, put them back together, that's it. Because it's just all metal on metal. And lube it up with a little silicone spray and you're good to go. But if you do need a reproduction joystick, and if you can find the Mike's Arcade ones, I think he sold out and is not stocking them anymore. I'm not positive about that, but if he still has them on his website, I would buy those with complete confidence because they really are perfect. You can't tell a difference. I mean, they're literally one-to-one. And then as far as the buttons, use the Mike's Arcade ones for now, and then keep your eyes out for the original buttons or the reproductions if someone ever makes them. The original buttons, though, have gotten really stupid. People are trying to get 25 bucks a piece, which is just dumb for a button, because it really just, it functions the same, you know, the color's not 1,000%, and the way that the shape of the top isn't 1,000%, but it functions. The Mike's Arcade ones are fine, but not perfect. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you never have, because I do release new videos on Sundays and sometimes in between. And then also, be sure to check out my podcast, Video Game Outsiders, at videogameoutsiders.com. Actually, that podcast is now on a new network called Riotcast. So if you go to riotcast.com/VGO, you can still listen to VGO live every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. However, it's now on a new network called Riotcast at riotcast.com. Now, this network is a comedy network, and it's super exciting for us because, you know, we left All Games to join this network, and really, we're going to have lots of awesome opportunities because there's a lot of really high-profile podcasts and people on this network, like Nick DiPaolo, who's a famous stand-up comedian, Robert Kelly, who's on, well, he's on the Louis C.K. show, you know, on FX. He plays Louis' brother. He's also on Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll on Comedy Central. Rich Voss, who's from Last Comic Standing, and Jim Florentine, who's also been on the Louis show. So lots of exciting things going on there. And then also, I might be going to New York City to do some live shows because their studio, their podcasting studio, is above the Comedy Cellar. Yes, yeah, the Comedy Cellar. You're like in the beginning of every episode of Louis, he's walking into the Comedy Cellar. So that's the world that we're joining, and it is super awesome. So again, riotcast.com/VGO. And then I know you guys heard this too. You know, Arcade Outsiders right now is going to be put on hold. I'll be announcing, you know, what's up with that later, but right now we really need to focus on VGO and this new network. However, the Grinkers tournament and all that is not going away. Joe, Sean, and myself are going to be going there to do a live show October 9th and 10th at Grinkers Grand Palace. We have all those details at arcadeoutsiders.com. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you very, very, very soon. All right, guys, later, and bye.